Alice and George heard a very deep growl that almost sounded like a deep, long exhale of breath.
"What was that?"
Alice asked.
"I don't know,"
George said. Alice enhanced the brightness of her headlamp. She caught a quick glance of something just sitting there, staring at her with big green eyes. It leapt toward her and attacked George. George screamed in horror and agony as the creature pounded George into the snow and feasted upon his flesh within arm's reach of Alice. Alice screamed in horror as well. Her heart thumped so fast and hard she could feel it in her tonsils. All she could do was scream. Suddenly, her instincts found their way to her conscience, and she turned away from the scene and started to rush back up the hill. The creature snarled and breathed heavily as it bit and dug its claws into George's corpse. Alice tried to move as fast as she could, but the snow had grown too deep. Everyone else and I heard the screams coming from down below. I recognized who the screams belonged to by the pitch of them. "Alice!" I gasped. Russell hadn't gotten too far from the group before he saw Alice rushing back up the hill.
"Alice, run, quickly!"
Russell urged. Shortly after that, a large figure came from right behind Alice and pummeled her into the deep snow. Her screams were dimmed, but Russell could still hear them. Russell aimed his rifle at the creature.
"Maybe I can still save her,"
he thought. Russell couldn't see its head, but its back was in plain sight. Russell pulled the trigger and hit the creature close to its spine. The creature whipped its head up and looked right at Russell. Meanwhile, Nick, Donald, and I heard stomps in the snow coming towards us. Something big is coming, I thought. We looked past Alex's disfigured body and saw a tall, muscular figure with giant hands. It stood still and stayed quiet once we spotted it. It had a different outline and posture from the creature I had seen earlier. Its head looked down over to where Alice's screams were coming from. I was speechless. I couldn't tell, but something told me that this new creature meant us no harm. I sensed a certain gentleness about it, maybe because of the way it made no threatening noises, and the fact that its attention was drawn more to where the screams were coming from versus my friends and I. I couldn't have been sure of anything at the time. All the same, I was a little questionable about what this new creature's intentions were. The tall beast bellowed a strange noise that sounded faintly familiar from the previous day. The noise sounded vibrant. "Run!" I blurted. It was all I could think to say. A shot was fired, echoing loudly over the harsh winds that were blowing. I could hear the tall figure's footsteps moving swiftly, only it wasn't chasing after us. It was chasing after the screeches of the other creature further down the hill. We had to lift our knees high to move more quickly. Despite how strong my legs were in general, my quads almost immediately started to ache, but the pain didn't matter. All that mattered was that I got as far away as fast as I could with my friends. I ran past Donald and Nick and grabbed Anna. Russell rushed up beside us from down the slope, holding his gun in one hand. While running, Russell attempted to cock out the used shell and load a new bullet. He had a small box zipped in a bag strapped to his side. The box was full of bullets. He opened the box too abruptly and didn't think to compensate for the bounce of his running. Thus, several bullets bounced out of the box and dropped onto the snow.
"Oh, shit,"
Russell said as he looked back at his lost ammunition. Suddenly, there was another screech, followed by a series of gorilla-like roars. I chased after Russell and I pulled on his backpack. "Leave them! They're not worth your life!" We ran and ran until we found ourselves right back where we started. We all stopped to catch our breaths. As I stood there, panting with my eyelids growing heavy, I began to recall the outline of the colossal figure Donald, Nick, and I had encountered. Why? I asked myself. Why didn't it attack us? Why did it go after the other creature that killed Alex and now Alice and George? And why was I so trusting about this figure? Donald walked over to Anna and they whispered some words between one another to make sure they were both all right.
"Fucking A! What the fuck are those things? What in the world is going on here?"
Donald said when he was done talking with Anna.
Wait a minute.
Those things? There's more than one now?
This is news to me, too. When did you see the second creature?
Unless George's and Alice's screams were all for nothing, which by the looks of things, doesn't seem to be the case. Donald, Alina, and I saw a new creature that may be out to kill us.
I'm not so sure this one we saw had any intent on killing any of us, Nick.
What makes you say that, Alina?
Did you see how fast that new thing was moving? Donald? Nick? The two friends looked at each other and shook their heads at me. Well, I did, and from what I saw, that thing was moving a lot faster than all of us combined. I think if it wanted to hurt us, it would have. But it didn't, and instead it dashed in the direction of Alice and George's screams.
Which was also where the creature was. It killed Alice. I saw it pound her into the ground. I tried to save her, but there was nothing I could do. I think maybe if you really saw this new animal chase after the one, it may have saved my life.
Nick scoffed at us.
You guys really think that this random new beast might have been trying to assist us?
Why not? I'm not lying. I saw a new animal go after the creature that killed our friends. Is that not reason enough to suspect my theory is a plausible one?
I think it is. But I don't think seeking the damned thing out to see if he'll shake hands and play tour guide with us is the brightest idea. Not to say that's what you're suggesting, Alina. However, we can't go back the way we came.
Well then, what do you suggest we do, Donald?
Anna marched up towards Donald in an aggressive fashion.
Need I remind you that it was you who said we would do best if we traveled this way around the mountain instead of staying on the trail, which, as a result, has led us all to where we stand now, with 3 of our friends dead. So this next idea of yours better see us all through this, alive, because if not, you'll have more than these damn creatures to be afraid of.
Donald looked down at Anna, took a deep breath, and sighed.
I understand that to a great degree what has happened tonight is my fault. But as I said, we can't go back the way we came. However, we can attempt to hike up the mountain until we reach a place when we're high enough to wingsuit off the mountain. That is, after all, what we were going to do in the first place, right?
Right.
But we're only going as far up as we need to get back down and return home. And from now on, when we sleep, we'll trade off lookouts every 2 hours or so, armed with Russell's rifle.
That actually may be a problem, Donald. I only have 4 bullets left, including the ones that's loaded on the rifle. Which means if any of us should need to use a rifle, we can't afford to miss.
Donald stared at Russell with his jaw tightened. He sighed and squeezed his brow with his thumb and index finger as he looked down.
All right. I suppose we'll just have to make every shot count then.